Welcome to Q&A episode 4, the series where I take your guys' questions and answer them, whether it be on like John Mayer's gear or my own personal gear journey, and answer them in a more short form, rapid fire style of video where I don't need to take each topic and make it its own video, things that I can answer a little bit quicker than a traditional video on the channel. If you guys want your question featured in the next episode, leave it in the comments down below because I'm just prioritizing the questions that are left in the comments of the previous YouTube video in the series. So let's get into Q&A number 4. First one from Shappy Bermejo 1315. What would you like to hear in John's new album in terms of genres, vibes in general? I just would like something that's a bit more classic Mayer, in all honesty, a bit more guitar focused, obviously. I really did love The Search for Everything. That's a really great album in my opinion. Sobrock I did like, but it just, I don't know, it didn't feel like quite Mayer to me. So I just want something that's, you know, any step closer to the direction of Continuum, those kind of tones, you know, that'd be more what I'm really looking forward to hearing. But in all honesty, I just want new music from John. That's just what I'm the most excited for in general, is just actually getting new music in whatever shape it's gonna be, whatever it's gonna sound like. I'm just excited to actually have new music because it's been quite a while. HMK Music 28 asks, with the 335, what pedals would he use for I'm Gonna Find Another You and Try? Oh man, that I'm Gonna Find Another You performance, I believe you're referencing the one from Letterman, is absolutely phenomenal. I might have to make a video just dedicated to this one performance and tone because it's so fantastic. But the thing to keep in mind when John uses any guitar with humbuckers, things like that, he doesn't have a separate set of pedals or gear that he uses with different guitars. He just uses everything being the exact same. So the typical drive pedals that he'd be using at the time for the Trail, like the TS-808, the Keeley modded Blues Driver, things like that are all going to be universal to all of his guitars. But one thing that's really important with the 335 that I found, especially for that more classic style of sound, is the slap back delay that John was using. It just really, it helps to accentuate the tone of that guitar a lot. You hear it on, like, Why Don't You Come When I Call, even when John performed that, you really hear the slapback. Or even Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone during Crossroads 2010, that was the carbon copy, but you really do hear that extra slap with the delay, really just helping to make just that sound that John was going for at that time. So that's one kind of key element when you're kind of doing the John Mayer thing with like a guitar like a 335, the slapback delay, really important. Yeah, she's nice too, yeah. Hayes Plays RB asks, what are some good Mayer slapback settings on the carbon copy? I had to go and actually dig one out in my pedal drawer that I have and set it up. The settings that I kind of found that were doing a fairly good slapback thing for the John Mayer kind of sound that you just have to tweak a little bit to your own liking and ears is the regen at about 9 o'clock, the mix just before noon, like 11, let's say, and then the delay maybe like 9:30, not quite 10 o'clock. That's kind of like the ballpark settings for the slapback sound that I have found. And then just for fun as well, because one of the only times that John has also used the carbon copy is California Dreaming, I was messing around with kind of the solo delay that John had there, and something just that I thought sounded pretty close and decent was the regen at about 10 o'clock, the mix at 11, and then the delay at about 1:30, something like that. I thought was getting pretty close to kind of that sort of delay John was using for California Dreamin' on Conan. So those are two just settings for the carbon copy that you can try out, tweak to your own personal liking from there. Uncle Drew 2430 asks, hello, if you were to buy an amp for around $1,000, what would you recommend to emulate John Mayer's tone? My amp knowledge, especially at amps around that price point, isn't that extensive. However, if I was just personally going to go out and buy one, I would really look at a Hot Rod Deluxe. Both of my friends, Gabe Bergman and Sam Rumian, have played a Hot Rod Deluxe for a very long time and have gotten really just fantastic tones out of them. Like Sam, before he got his multiple 2-rocks and, vintage Fenders and things like that, he was playing a Hot Rod Deluxe and his tone was absolutely phenomenal out of that amplifier. So based off of just what two of my good friends have used for a very long time and really speak highly of, a Hot Rod Deluxe is personally what I would look into. But if you have any recommendations, leave it in the comments down below, because I'm sure some of you guys have played or have owned at times amps around that price point that have gotten you some pretty good tones as well. So let us know in the comments down below what you would also get for that price point. Gabriel Minero asks, hey, any recommendations for the settings and tone for the Flux 5 and TS10? And this one also had a couple of thumbs up for this one. So I'm going to go to a shot I have of John's Flux 5. Give me 1 second. All right, on your screen right now, I'll be sharing the settings that John was using for both the TS10 and the Flux 5 when he had them both on the pedal board at the same time. You can copy these to a degree, but you're really gonna have to dial them in to taste for your amp rig. The thing about overdrive pedals especially, it's not like you're copying a phaser setting or something like that. It's all very dependent on the rest of your signal chain, your pickups, your guitar, the rest of the pedals you have. What else are you gain stacking it with? Your amplifier, how much headroom it has, things like that all are going to impact how your overdrive pedals sound. So I always say you can't copy them exactly, but they're a great starting point at least that then you can tweak from then on and adjust to your own personal preferences as well. The one thing about the Flux 5 that I will say is that it has a high gain channel that you can utilize in it that I guarantee John never used. It's pretty aggressive sounding, so I always use just the more standard channel out of the Flux 5 and somewhat similar-ish EQ settings, and the rest of the settings I did kind of copy fairly close, and I found they sounded good with the TS10 as well. The thing that you just want to make sure is that when you turn on the TS10, you have your kind of main overdrive sound, however you want to have it, but then the Flux 5 has got to make things louder and it's got to give you more gain as well. That's kind of the key here with that gain stacking between the two pedals. The Flux 5 is going to get you into like the Belief solo tone from 2019 World Tour. That's kind of what you're going for, that extra step above, the typical solo tone that John was going for. You're going for that, higher gain, more raw, powerful tone. If you're getting that when you're gain stacking both of those pedals, then you're definitely doing it right. Chappie Bermejo asks, favorite tone from the Born and Raised and Paradise Valley era? This one's pretty easy. It's Can't Find My Way Home. There are two really great versions that are on YouTube. One where John plays the 64, but the one with the black one is my favorite. That tone it's so incredible. And for me, there's the Born and Raised era had so many great guitar tones, like countless versions of the slow dancing solo, outro solo that are just so great. But for me personally, the one that really stands out as being a little bit more special and unique is that solo for Can't Find My Way Home. I really do love it. Next one is from Jack RH578. What is your favorite drive pedal Mayer has ever used? Out of all the ones that I have tried, probably the Zen Drive 2 is actually, that one is up there, and that's kind of the first that came to my mind. It's kind of a weird one to talk about though, because I don't know of one example that I could give where John actually used it. It was on his pedal board, but I've never seen any footage of him stepping on it, or at least have heard anything that made me kind of think, ooh, that sounds like the Zen Drive 2. The other one that I just really want to try is the Dumbleoid B. I think most of my favorite tones from the 2019 World Tour included the Dumbleoid B as part of the gain stacking that was going on for that third overdrive. Again, higher gain sound like the Flux 5 also was doing. So, you know, Zen Drive 2 is personally my favorite one that I've tried, but one that I think I would really love once I do get it eventually is going to be the Dumbleoid B. Tom Page 88 asks, can you get the Aqua Puss Mark III sounding like a Mark 1 or 2? 100%. The Mark III can totally do the Aqua Puss slapback sort of thing, and really well. There's a great video that my friend the London guitarist did where he shoots out a Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, as well as a Supro delay I think he did in that video. I'll link that in the description down below, but basically go and watch that video, and that gives you kind of all the information you need to know. The Mark III does a great job of sounding like the Mark 1. It does a better job than the Mark II even because it's a little bit darker sounding. Two Ditto asks, best blues breaker you've tried. I haven't actually played a lot of blues breaker style of pedals. I used to have a vintage 90s blues breaker, and that was kind of like, okay, I've got the thing that everything's kind of trying to emulate. And I had that for a while. I really loved it. And then right now on my pedal board, I have the Chase Bliss Analog Man Brothers AM, and I'm absolutely loving it. And I can't wait to get my actual King of Tone on my board. But right now, the Brothers AM, absolutely phenomenal pedal. Sounds fantastic to do that, you know, blues breaker thing. But the King of Tone, it's a bit more than a blues breaker, but it's in that same, you know, it's blues breaker-esque, let's say. That's my favorite one. Antonio Sanchez 19 asks, will you upload any Jonny Buckland rig videos? The thing about the channel that it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act of making the videos that I'm interested in and the content that I just am excited to talk about, and also making the videos that you guys just want to see and want to watch. There is very much a balancing act in doing both of those things, because sometimes the videos that I might think are cool, you guys might not think are cool, or the videos that you guys want me to make, I might think, okay, you know, I'm not super excited to actually go and make that sort of video. That's just the reality of being you know, an amateur YouTuber and doing stuff like this. There's always that balancing act of, you know, what I'm excited to make on the channel and do, and then what you guys really want to see as well. And sometimes that doesn't totally line up, which is 100% okay. The Jonny Buckland stuff, you know, I'm interested really in the Parachutes, Rush of Blood to the Head, X and Y, and to a certain extent, Viva La Vida. That's kind of as far into the Coldplay sound and Jonny Buckland's guitar tone that I'm really a massive fan of, especially the first 3 albums. Those to me are just some incredible guitar playing, incredible guitar tone, especially live. His use of delays and other effects as well, very much in the vein of The Edge as well, another guitar player that I really do take a lot of inspiration in. So if there's some stuff on earlier Coldplay you guys would like to see me maybe make videos on, you know, you gotta just let me know in the comments, let me know in Instagram DMs, stuff like that, because I have been doing a lot of deep diving into Jonny Buckland's very early Coldplay guitar tone, and it's a tone that I love. I'm passionate about it, but I wouldn't necessarily make videos on it unless you guys wanted to see stuff like that, so you just gotta let me know. But there is also, you know, a really cool shot that Vemram did of Jonny Buckland's modern guitar rig, which is like all Vemram pedals and, you know, massive boutique gear and stuff like that. So could be just cool to talk about the kind of craziness and the changes over his career of pedals that he's gone from using and stuff like that. But yeah, just let me know in the comments down below if you guys want to see it. I'd be pretty excited to make a video on, you know, some at least like X and Y parachutes, those kind of eras in tone kind of gear talk videos. Moving on to a little bit of a hot topic from Clint Spano 10. Has Dead & Co detracted from JM's career? Went from SRV Jimmy to Garcia. Bad move in my opinion. This is one that I feel like at least some people are going to feel pretty passionate about one way or another. And this is just my personal take on this kind of subject. And I haven't, you know, I've never really hid my opinion on it from you guys on the channel. I think it's, I've stated it a few times that I'm just not a big fan of the Grateful Dead, or to be honest, Dead & Company. It's a part of John's career that if it wasn't for John Mayer, I personally wouldn't listen to the Grateful Dead. That's just the reality of it. And I still don't listen to it at all, if I'm being honest. The music doesn't speak to me. And John has a quote that he said before that, "You don't find the Grateful Dead finds you." The Grateful Dead has not found me yet, and that's okay. I just personally like I have an appreciation and respect for the music, but it's just not my personal cup of tea. I don't really understand it, and yeah, would I rather John focus more on his own career a bit more than Dead & Company? 110%. Would I rather have us gotten, you know, an extra album in this time? Let's say we would be up one more album, you know, maybe down a Dead & Company tour or two. 100%. I personally would way rather that have been the thing. And again, you know, Jerry Garcia is playing, it's influencing John. I do really appreciate that, but I'm more of a fan of the Steve Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix sort of playing, like you've said. I respect it all, I appreciate it all, but it's not something that just totally speaks to me. And it's kind of funny, I just talked about how there's a balancing act on the channel of making videos that I want to make and I'm excited about, and videos that you guys want to see. Dead & Company, to me, I'm not always super excited to talk about it. That's just the reality of the situation. But because of Mayer, I try and understand it, and I try and, you know, dive a little bit more into it, so to speak. But that's just where I personally am. I would really love to see Dead & Company live, because maybe then actually experiencing a show will open my eyes up a little bit more and give me more of an understanding of the music and make me fall in love with it a little bit more, because at this point, really, it interests me because of John, and that's just me being totally honest. But, you know, at the end of the day, I want John to be happy. I want him to do the things that speak to him. I want him to enjoy his career, his life, all these, you know, side quests he is going on. And it's hard to say it's detracted from his career a bit, because he just came off of doing a 1.5 year long solo tour. Just him, an acoustic guitar, selling out big arenas and stadiums, and just connecting with his fans in that way. So I just really appreciate the fact that we're getting lots of music, lots of live playing from John constantly. And Dead & Company is one avenue that he's exploring. It's just not my personal favorite. All right, moving on now to one from Koston Halfcock. Favorite guitar / pedal you own? This one, favorite, I find a little bit hard to answer, because it's like, is favorite meaning, you know, the one I'm playing the most often, the one I'm using the most, or the one that maybe has a bit of sentimental value to me? I'll answer it in terms of the ones that I'm the most attached to at the moment. All right, taking it off the wall, this is my 1978 Telecaster thin line with the original wide range pickups in it. The exact guitar that Jonny Buckland was using in the earlier days with Coldplay. Something different, very unique, and I was really excited to make a departure from being so heavily focused on the Mayer sound and doing the Mayer thing. It was really exciting to actually branch out and take that leap into just a different tone and kind of, you know, taking from different inspirations to help also find my sound. This guitar is one that when I first bought it, I really didn't bond with though at all. Part because it being an old guitar, it needed some work to get to the point that I want it to actually be at. And the jack actually broke on me. It's not like catching anymore, so I think I just got to go in there and adjust that. So I got to fix that, or probably get my guy to actually fix it, who works on my guitars, because the setup needs a little bit more of an adjustment as well. And I personally don't touch that stuff too much. I leave it to, you know, a professional that I go to. But also in part because literally the night that this guitar arrived at my house, within 5 minutes, a very close to me medical situation happened that literally the guitar hadn't even taken it out of the case yet. I was, letting it acclimatize, whether or not that actually does anything or not. I was letting it acclimatize, hadn't even been 5 minutes since I took the case out of the box. Then I got word of a medical situation that had happened that, we're still dealing with, to be honest. That's part of, the Q&A series. It's a little bit more personal, a little bit more, me, my gear journey as well, and it's a way to connect with you guys. So if you're watching this, you're getting a bit of an insight as to why perhaps, especially in like May-ish, April, I think I uploaded like one video in like 2 months. Still sorting out a certain situation that is extremely close to me. We're still not through it yet, but working through it. And the fact that that literally had happened within 5 minutes, I hadn't even taken the guitar out of the box. It took all of the wind out of my sails for this guitar. I couldn't look at it without thinking of this situation. And I kind of had a crossroads where I was either going to sell it or I was going to work through and actually try and bond with the guitar and actually use this as, something to highlight. Or something just give me energy, I guess is more what I'm trying to say. And think of it as a way as, this is the guitar that arrived right when I found out that we are going to be saving someone extremely close to me. We're going to be saving their life, basically, right? So in that sense, I've started to really look at this guitar differently and more fondly as, it's one that I plan on keeping for, an extremely long time, because trying to find a black Telecaster thin line looked like it was going to be impossible and cost an extremely large amount of money, and that's kind of the one I wanted. And if I wasn't going to get a black version, I wasn't sure if I wanted to get one of the other colors like natural or mocha, for example. But this one came up in great condition. It was kind of meant to be, and it's like, we've kind of found out that I got this guitar at this kind of, pivotal moment of my life where, it's going to help me get through that kind of deal. Sorry to maybe get a little bit real with you guys, but that's the genuine, reality of, shit that's going on in my life right now. So this guitar to me has now become something that I look at and it brings me happiness in that sort of way. So I'm really now going the other way and bonding with this guitar a lot. And honestly, it sounds so fantastic. I know wide range pickups aren't for everyone. I personally really do love it. It's not quite as, it doesn't sound like something like a Les Paul or something like that. It's got its own thing where you really do get that fidelity almost of the single coil, but the fullness of a humbucker, and that's what the wide range is supposed to do. So the sound is great. The guitar, I think, looks phenomenal. All original except for the pearloid guard, which the original owner put on. I have the original guard that came with it, but I just think the pearl actually looks pretty cool. So I'm just leaving it on. But other than that, the guitar is fantastic. I really do love it, and it's one I bonded with quite a lot in the past even month or so. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. That was probably a little long-winded, but I was just speaking genuinely from the heart. Fuck cancer. That's all I'll say. Moving on. The pedal, my favorite pedal, I'll answer this in two quick parts. The pedal that I'm enjoying the most actually using at the very moment is the Korg SDD 3000 pedal version. It's fantastic. So many things you can do, so many great delay sounds in that pedal. The fact that you can just really easily make presets and banks. I've got like 8 presets now for different songs like Aurora by the Foo Fighters, Shiver by Coldplay. I got like a tape thing going for the Mayer, TES, Delay 80 sort of thing. It's really versatile. It sounds fantastic for a lot of various delay sounds, and I'm really excited to see if John will continue using it beyond Dead and Company. If it makes its way onto his own like mainline pedal board, that just will make me really excited to see, because as a big fan of the Edge, Dallas's guitar tech had a lot of input in the design of this pedal. It's just bridging more of the worlds of guitar sounds and tones that I love. So I'm just really hope John uses it. But I'll answer my favorite pedal. This is the pedal that if my house, was on fire, God forbid, that I would run in, and the first one I would try and save. And I keep it in the box, in the bag that it is in, until I find a proper way to display it. But it is a broadcast AP, but it's not just any broadcast AP. This colorway of the broadcast AP was done in celebration of the release of Ariel Posen's album, Reasons Why. It's a very specific, really awesome looking colorway. They did a giveaway, Ariel Posen and Hudson, I believe it was, where they gave away 5 of these just in promotion and again, celebration of that album's release. This is the pedal that if I had to sell everything and could only keep one, it would be this one, because this one isn't part of that run of 5, and it was, you know, one of the coolest gifts I have genuinely ever gotten. So just sentimental value, this pedal is the one that, you know, means the most to me. It's really rad. Go check out Ariel Posen's album. He's got a new one, I believe, coming out as well, which is going to be really great. Go see him on tour in the States if you haven't. Wicked guitar player, wicked dude. Yeah, so that would be the pedal. All right, the Q&A got a touch heavy, a touch more personal, but I hope you guys did enjoy it, because this, you know, series on the channel, I am just enjoying connecting with you guys a little bit more, and you guys getting to know a little bit more about me, and the live streams and everything are great for that as well. So yeah, you know, keeping things honest, keeping things absolutely genuine. But back onto some more fun questions here from Harrison Kane 8. Do you think John's festival lineup has anything to do with hinting at his new style? John's playing, you know, quite a few festivals. I think we're up to 5 now at this point of me making this video. They're all full band, which is super exciting. I don't necessarily think it's hinting at his new style of the album. You know, it's very possible he could be going like more poppy or things like that. You know, the song he did with Zed, Automatic Yes, could be, you know, doing a little bit more of things like that, but I personally don't think that's the case. You think of the songs that John debuted on the solo tour, In the Neighborhood and Drifting, very kind of almost classic John Mayer songs. I really hope that that's the, you know, vibe of the new album. If anything though, what it kind of makes me think is that we just got off of another Dead & Company residency at the Sphere. John's now performing these festivals with his full band, almost like promoting himself and his music a little bit more. The timing of it makes me kind of think maybe it's all with the purpose of ramping things up for the release of a new album. So that's kind of what I almost think is maybe the association here. Is it's not more so the music necessarily, but just the fact that John's actually playing some rather large festival gigs with his full band, his own music now. Could just be doing it for fun, but also could be because we might have a single coming around the corner in the fall or something like that, a new album early next year, maybe, let's hope. So that's kind of what I'm thinking it means, more so than the style of music. Juan Flunai asks, sorry if I butchered that, how do I overcome this gas with pedals? That's the neat part. You don't. No. I think for most people you do. I've talked about it, you know, a few times. I went through a phase where I bought a ton of stuff, had a ton of pedals. You know, anytime there was a new pedal on John's board, I was instantly adding it to cart on Reverb or wherever and getting it in. And then I just hit a point where I was like, no, I'm done doing that sort of thing. I want to focus on my own kind of sounds and just in general the music that interests me more so than just the Mayer thing. So I sold most of the pedals that I had, and really I think my board was down to like 6 pedals, which is, you know, not nothing, but it's, you know, compared to, you know, a board that had like 20 some on it, and then, you know, another like 30 or whatever that I had just, you know, in pedal drawers that I could swap out or whatever. It was quite a downsize for me at least. So I think most people do. You just kind of gotta, you know, you just gotta kind of find that, whether or not it's, you know, finding new sounds or a new focus or whatever it is, or just, you know, I don't know. I'm not a good person to give recommendations on how to get over it. I just can speak from, you know, my own experience, and is that eventually I wanted to just explore other sounds and focus on, you know, sounds that I wanted to make and develop more of my, what board do I want to have, you know, what amps do I want to have and guitars that I want to have and things like that, instead of just hyper focusing on the new shiny thing that came out. That's kind of, you know, what I've gone through at least. The next one is from JJ Plays Guitar. Where is Chris Buck's signature Yamaha? So I had to go back in order to try and give a decently educated guess or theory for this question. Now we're going to use the John Frusciante signature Strat as just one example to go off of. That guitar's prototype was first seen in the fall of 2022. We saw it go away for a while. There was a large span where we never saw John using it. Then it appeared again in a little bit of a different format. And then 2 years later, in the fall of 2024, the guitar's at least master-built version was announced. So pretty much 2 years from when we first saw him road testing it to the guitar officially being announced, and shortly after then actually released. Now, I first made the video talking about the prototype that Chris had in the guitar rack that was very clearly what is going to be a Chris Buck signature Revstar was on June 26th of 2024. So we are just over a year now since we kind of first saw him road testing that. So my, at least theory based on, kind of the timeline that we saw, at least with the Frusciante signature, is that anytime, maybe in the fall of 2025 or spring 2026, kind of getting to that 1.5 to 2 year mark, we should hear something. That's at least what I'm expecting. Could be sooner, could be later, but I kind of think that 2 year time frame from road testing, prototype, to actually an announcement, I think that does make sense just based on that one example. So I'd be willing to bet fall, early 2026, somewhere around there. We'll see it. All right, this one from Aaron NPC. When I first read it, I actually chuckled pretty hard, and it's favorite John Mayer guitar face. For me, this one was not that difficult to sort out. Crossroads 2004 is a goldmine for numerous reasons. The insane City Love intro jam being, the clear highlight to that, in my opinion, but the guitar faces that went along with that performance, the double popped collar, the whole thing was just so funny. And there's one in particular, I'll play a short clip of it, that every time I watch it, I just can't help but kind of like chuckle and smile at it, and just, in an oh John sort of way, but just also you just hearing just that jam I'll never get tired of hearing that City Love jam. It's phenomenal. But that one just in general, the guitar faces, they're too good. They're too awesome. All right, and our last one is from Elliot P. Full. What do you think of Paul Reed Smith saying Gravity was played on a 64 Strat in the Rick Beato video? I never watched that video, so I had to actually go and watch it to find the part that you were referencing there, because I thought that was a really interesting remark. They're talking about vintage Strats, shooting it out with a bunch of different SE PRS guitars, and Paul just kind of, in conversation just mentions, Gravity was played with the 64 and, stuff like that. And I think he just genuinely, as people do, I think he just misspoke. And I think that in his mind, he was thinking Slow Dancing in a Burning Room and the 64, and instead he just said Gravity. But that's what I just think is what happened. I am personally at least not reading anything into that to say that Gravity was recorded with the 64 instead. I'm definitely just thinking that Paul intended to say Slow Dancing and then instead accidentally said Gravity. That's what I'm taking from it. Hope you guys enjoyed this Q&A. I'm assuming it's on the longer side for these videos, but I do hope you guys enjoyed my answers to all of these questions and enjoy these sorts of videos. And like I said, it's a little bit more personal, especially in this episode. And yeah, I just genuinely appreciate you guys, all the support you've given the channel, all the support you've given me, and it feels like a little community that we've built out of, starting off at least out of a love of John's sound, out of John's guitar playing, his tone and everything like that. And it's always just really awesome to see. And I enjoy making videos like this, especially too, and just kind of more talking with you guys and trying to help out some questions here or there and answer some stuff for you all and everything. So if you have any more questions you want to see answered in the next episode, leave them down in the comments down below. Ideally, it just helps me out having just to reference, ones in the comment section, but I will be posting an Instagram story as well, opening up that for this video as well. So if you haven't followed me at Justin Jeske Guitar, go follow me on there as well, because I'll also be asking for more questions on there as well when I'm kind of ready to make the next video. But until the next one, you guys, just genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys and just allowing me to even make videos like this to chat about things with you guys. It's fun, it's really great, and yeah, it's not lost on me. Take care, everyone.
Anyway, go ahead and click the subscribe button if you like what you see.